While on the Chicago trip in Rogers Park, I learned so much about myself, my youth group, and the love of Christ. But I mostly realized that we really were making a difference in the community. We all stepped up to make a change to show the light of Christ. We had to be the change to make a change. We couldn't just stand around and hope that something would get done. We had to really come together and make a difference. And I believe that we did.
I learned that showing Jesus to people in my neighborhood is something I can easily do every day. For example, on the trip, me and a few other people went to my neighbor's house. You see, my neighbor needs help with her yard and house. When we went there, we cut her lawn for her, trimmed her trees and bushes, pulled a tree out that was growing right next to her house, and brushed the dogs and kept her company. At the end, when we were all talking to her, she was smiling, and it was that smile I wanted to see on her face every day, and on the faces of everyone in my area. Her smile is what makes me want to go out and help others. So now my goal is to keep cutting her lawn, weed her roses, and help her clean her house, and also to help her with everything else she wants help with. I also want to help my other neighbors with anything else they might need help with.
One way that I showed Jesus' love in a practical way on this trip was handing out free cold water bottles one day at the beach. This simple gesture just astounded some people. They couldn't believe that teenagers would spend their time and money on complete strangers in the name of God. It was something new for me too, but it got people's attention. Some of the conversations that we had with these people, you could really tell put a smile on their face, and it gave us the feeling of accomplishment and let us know that we were making a small but important difference on the city of Chicago.
On this mission trip, I really began to grasp a new definition of what it means to show Jesus to my community. I learned that in order to really demonstrate his love, I need to be bold and step outside my comfort zone. This idea was tested on the DuPage trip when a group of us decided to go around to different places and offer prayer to total strangers. No, this was surely not an easy task for me nor anyone else in the group. But I just had to keep reminding myself that these people needed to know not only about the gospel, but also that there were people out there who care about them and their problems. We were able to talk to several people that day, many of whom were crippled by overwhelming fear and worry. It was nice to be there for those people going through hard times, and this experience has also made it easier for me to share Jesus on a day-to-day basis. I always just have to remember to be bold, and even though it may be challenging at times, I know that all in all, I am working to further the Lord's kingdom.
While in Rogers Park, I served in a practical way. I did this by helping the missionaries clean out a room so later in the week it could be painted and set up as a computer lab. The center wanted to do this so they could provide another service to the community because a lot of people in the neighborhood can't afford internet or for a computer for that matter. It gives them another foothold in the community to share Jesus.
Sharing Jesus in Rogers Park was a lot different, even though it was so close to home. Day camp was one of the things that I found most challenging and beneficial throughout the week. We held day camp for 2 hours each day with over 30 inner city kids. We showed the message of love of Christ through skits, crafts, games to help memorize the verses, songs, and socially connecting with the kids. We had a rowdy bunch, and the Lord tested our patience each and every day. But when they all settled down, the skits about the 10 Commandments and crafts really helped them further understand who God is and what his rules are for us, and if we believe in him and accept him into our hearts, we will go to heaven. The kids often had questions during free time, which really started to make me wonder if they've ever heard the gospel before, or if this was their first time hearing the name Jesus. This motivated us even more to give these kids the knowledge we could on how to have Jesus in their hearts. Even though it was hard at times to understand the kids' behavior, attitude, and way of acting out, God helped us all stay energized and focused on planting the seed in these young children's lives.
This past mission trip in Rogers Park had a huge impact on my spiritual journey with Christ. It prepared me with real-life situations when Jesus and Christianity was brought up in conversation. One part of this trip was prayer walking to different areas. My group of 4 happened to go to a local park to pray for the people there. Here, after praying, we approached a group of 3 adults on a bench to ask for directions. When we mentioned the mosque we were headed to also pray for them, one of the men, Chris, started to inquire about our group and the reason for going to the mosque. We explained to him what we were doing and his attitude and demeanor changed drastically. He immediately started going on about how there is no such thing as religion or any God. This was much to our disappointment and concern. As we each started to interject our own concerns, he cut each of us off in an effort to not let any of us speak our own opinions. We quickly learned he was quite drunk, which was a big reason why he only wanted to hear himself talk. He continued to go on about how he considered himself perfect in his life by living only for himself, which simply made all of us feel worse and worse. We eventually had to walk away with little direction of where to go heading for the mosque, and also mentally trying to dissect everything we just experienced. We continued our walk constantly praying for the group for all the support they needed. This incident had a huge spiritual impact on me and the rest of my group, and it came about simply because we made ourselves available to the opportunity and made simple conversation to lead to a more in-depth talk, similarly to the way Jesus talked to the woman at the well in John 4, by starting with asking for a drink of water and bringing up a spiritual conversation. Though he did this so many years ago, it is still applicable to our lives today as expressed with our encounter with Christ.